What happens when a lovely viewer comments on one of your latest videos asking you to please do a tutorial on this look? You film a tutorial, and that is exactly what I did. And I will be showing you guys a step by step on how I achieved this look. I am starting this look off on freshly washed skin, and I'm going to go ahead and do some skincare. Just removed these eye patches, and then I'm going to go in with the Rhode Glazing Milk Serum. This is just going to give me that moisture and hydration that I really love and need before I put on my makeup, and I really love this product. And then I'm going to go in with the Medicube Peptide Eye Cream. This just helps, add more moisture underneath my eyes, and I've been using it for a while and I really do like it. And then I'm going to go in with the La Roche-Posay moisturizer. This has SPF, so this is perfect for my girlies who are going to be in the sun. You want to stay safe from the UVs, and this is perfect to add underneath your makeup as well. I recently started adding this Bobbi Brown moisturizer and primer, and so far I don't have any complaints. I added a bit of this Urban Decay eyeshadow primer just to help avoid any creasing on my eyelids because I am prone to creasing. And then I had to cover up some dark spots. As you can see, I have a couple. So I went in with this Kosas color corrector to kind of help with that. And then using this portable fan to quickly dry down the concealer. That way I got more coverage. And then I'm going to use this mini Real Techniques brush to blend it out. Now, I was not happy with the way the concealer blended out on my forehead, but I'm going to go ahead and fix that later. Now it's time for foundation, and I'm using the Tier Cushion Foundation. I think this is in the color or shade Chestnut. I love the coverage of this foundation. It has a really smooth finish. And then I went in with this NARS concealer to go back onto that dark spot and get that covered up. And while that dries down, I went in with this NYX brow pencil just to fill in my brows. You can fill them in to your liking. For bronzer, I use the Say Cream Bronzer, and using this angled fluffy brush, I'm just going to apply that to the temple of my cheeks and my cheekbones just to give me a little bit more of that sun-kissed look. And then I'm going to go back and blend out that concealer I applied earlier. And as you can see, it looks way better than it did before. Actually, it looks like it blended in with my skin a lot better. And then for the actual concealer that I'll be using underneath my eyes, I'll be using the L'Oreal Infallible Concealer. I really love this shade color. I think that it's just like a perfect shade that's like not too bright and not too orange. Like a lot of my concealers, or the concealers that I've tried in the past, were just never really the perfect shade. I would love to try some other concealers in the same shade from other brands, but overall, I mean, for a drugstore product, this L'Oreal concealer is still really good. And after letting that dry down for a couple of minutes, I use the House Labs concealer brush to blend it out. I find that blending out concealers with brushes, you get a better finish and more product. So I prefer using a brush over a sponge, but you could use whatever you like. Would you believe me if I told you that I filmed this video while I was clocked in at work? Yes, I was working from home and your girl had things to do. I had videos to upload, and I wasn't gonna let me working from home stop me from putting this video up. I added another concealer. This is the Born This Way concealer in the shade Maple, and I really focused this concealer on the inner corners of my under eye, my nose, and I did this just to add a bit more brightness underneath my eyes before I went in and added some brow gel. This brow gel, it's okay. I really don't like how it comes in a container. It's kind of hard getting the product out that way, which is why I prefer using a tube product or a product that comes in a tube. I used the NYX eyebrow gel, but that was in my purse and I just didn't feel like getting up and get it. I added some of that concealer on my eyelids just to give my lids a nice base for the shadow that I'll be putting on later. For blush, I used the Rode Pocket Blush in Toasted Teddy, and I kind of centered this on the apples of my cheeks all the way to like my temples, or what do you even call that? Anyways, you see the placement. And then I use this sort of dense brush to blend it out. Then taking this Laura Mercier loose powder and the Sephora powder puff, and I'm going to kind of blend that out on my hands before I apply that on to even out the placement. And then I'm gonna use that concealer brush to make sure that I don't have any creases before I apply that powder. And that is a really good technique if you struggle with like creasing underneath your eye. You want to make sure that the powder is nice and even and there's no creasing before you actually put in the powder or put on the powder. And then I went in to powder the rest of the concealer on my forehead, my nose, and making sure I blend that out before I go ahead and start this shadow. Now, you don't necessarily have to use the same exact shadow palette that I'm using, but you want to make sure that you have a dark brown shadow, and I really focused that on the crease of my eyelids just to make sure that we have a nice transition before we went on to putting that black eyeshadow. And as you can see, I am slowly building up that color just so that it doesn't look too harsh, and of course we always want to blend out our shadows for a more seamless blended look. Taking this flat brush, I'm gonna go ahead and get some of that black shade and really focus that on my eyelid and really following the shape of my eye, and of course blending it out to make sure I remove any harsh lines. Don't worry if it kind of looks all over the place. That's kind of the whole point of this look, really. But as you can see, it really blends in with that transition color. For my eyeliner, I'm using the Makeup by Mario eyeliner in this color Plum, and it's a really nice purple plum color. If you don't want to use black, this is a great alternative because you still have that deep color, but it's not too dark, if that makes sense. I really like the plum. And then I'm using the Fenty Beauty mascara and lightly coating one layer on my eyelashes because I am going to put on some falsies. And my false lashes of choice are by the brand House of Lashes, and this is the Allure Light style. And I'm using this duo lash glue to apply the lashes, and I'm not gonna lie, I was struggling to get these lashes on because it had been a while since I put on some false lashes, so yeah. But after getting that on, I went in with this clean, fluffy brush just to fluff out and brush off any excess powder that I had left over, really blend out any harsh lines. And then I went in to do some powder contour on my nose and really taking it to my brow bone to kind of give me this snatched nose look, but still blending it out in the end because of course I don't want it to look too crazy. I couldn't help but feel like I was missing something, and I did in fact miss a step. I had to go back and apply some concealer around my nose because yeah, it just felt really empty there for some reason. And as you can see, it did make a big difference. Anytime I want my bronzer or blush to stand out, I like to go in with the loose powder and apply that line underneath my cheekbones, and it really makes the contour stand out. And then for my powder blush, I use this Revolution. I don't remember the name of it, so I'm going to put it on the screen. I think it's called Rebel. A little goes a long way with this blush, so just be careful. I say that, but I clearly went a little overboard with the blush. I think I do have the case of blush blindness, and I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, it turned out well in the end, so that's all that matters. And then I went on to use this Sephora pressed powder, and I basically placed this everywhere I didn't put any powder on. I also went in and dusted off the excess loose powder that I applied earlier underneath my cheeks and make sure that's blended out. Also focusing on my forehead. And then I finally went in with some setting spray, sprayed it on my arm before, just so I have an even coating, and letting that dry down with a fan. And then I went back to apply some mascara on my lower lashes. Now you know your makeup is finally complete when you get to your lip combo, and this is my favorite part. And for liner, I'm using the Fenty liner in the color Traced Out. And then using the other side of this Makeup by Mario pencil that we used earlier, I'm just going to try to blend that out. Much blending didn't happen because that liner was pretty much stuck there. It did not budge, but that's okay. And using this MAC matte lipstick in 2.0, I think it's called Teddy. I'm just going to go ahead and use that as a nice nude cool shade. And then I'm going to finish it off with this Pat McGrath's lip gloss in the color Earth Angel. It has some nice shimmer that I think really adds to the look, and yeah, it's a perfect way to just top everything off. And then after fluffing my hair a little bit, I feel like I really did that. And period. I mean, look how seamless and nice this makeup look. It's pretty easy, and I feel like this look would look good on anyone. Also, get into this nail color. I did take a video of this look in natural lighting, and it still eats. And if you agree, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.